Be the change that you want to see in the world. If I could only give everyone one piece of advice, it would be that. And the reason is simple. It's very easy to judge other people for doing or not doing something, whilst looking at all of your own reasons and excuses and other things to justify your own actions. Sometimes people think the world is full of toxic and terrible and selfish people. Maybe it is, or maybe you're selfish, right? People think that everyone's polluting and doing all of this terrible stuff to the environment. What are you doing to prevent that? Are you a bit of a hypocrite in that way? Maybe. The point I'm driving at here is that, no, don't get me wrong, I'm exactly like this as well. It's very easy to look outside and say, hey, people should do this. This should be different. Why aren't people more like this? And not do it yourself. Why is this the case? Well, I know my own reasonings. I know what I'm dealing with at home, with my partner, with my kid, with my work, with everything. I know all the stuff going on in my mind. But all I'm seeing from you, as in the external person, is the actions that you're doing. I'm seeing you go through a fast food joint and chuck your wrapper out the window. I'm seeing you smoking. I'm seeing you having, pointless political arguments that lead nowhere. I'm seeing you yell in road rage. I'm seeing all of these just actions. I'm seeing the end result. I'm not seeing the build-up. I'm not seeing the inner world. I'm not seeing the mental illness or the drug addiction or the past history of trauma or the screaming fights or, the boss demeaning you or the kid being sick or whatever, that's led up to all of this. I've not seen any of that. All I've seen is the action that you take, and therefore I judge that action. Now, is that judgment unfair? Potentially. But what I really should be doing is going, well, what do I want to see? If I see one of those actions, if I see someone littering or, yelling at their kid or, doing something that I don't like, am I making that change? Am I being the change that I want to see? I want to see more niceness. Am I being nice? I want to see healthier eating in the world because I think there's too much sugar being consumed all the time. Am I doing that? I hate how consumerist the world is. Am I falling into that trap myself? Right? Now, obviously we're all human and, we have to live in the world we're in and all that sort of stuff. And it's very hard to make drastic changes, but we can move towards the changes that we want to see. We can start doing the things that we would like to see other people doing. Now, personally, I can account for this. I've always felt, not always, but a lot of the time I felt that people are very standoffish and very rude or distant or absent. But what I've realized is, and obviously, it's me. I'm rude. I'm standoffish. I'm absent. Well, that's what I'm presenting with my actions. Whereas in reality, I'm anxious. I'm terribly introverted. I have mental health problems that are churning in my mind. So when someone talks to me, I'm like, oh, right? If I act or if I look upset, if I look anxious, if I look worried, if I look like I'm not interested or if I'm afraid to talk, people are going to see that and not, and respond differently. And I've sort of proven this to myself in a couple of ways, 3 ways. Number one was me just experimenting with starting the conversations and sticking through it and seeing what happened. And I realized people are opening up. When I start offering myself to other people, people start offering themselves to me. That makes sense. The second thing was going on to St. John's wort. Well, meditation and then a medication of St. John's wort that helped to cut down a lot of the anxiety. That's enabled me, it sort of changed my disposition in the sense that rather than being instantly wanting to get away from conversations, I'm able to stick with them and have them, and I'm starting to enjoy them a lot. And unsurprisingly, once again, people, I'm happy, my face has changed, and the people responding to me change. And that's enabled me to feel a bit different in social situations across the board, no matter where I am, at work, at the gym, in public, all of that sort of stuff. And the third thing was having a son. Now, when I'm walking with my son, I put him on my shoulders or I hold his hand and we walk together, and I make an effort to wave or say hi to everyone that we meet, because I don't want him to have the same level of social anxiety that I do. I'm trying to help him just to think that it's normal to be it's okay to talk and interact with people without feeling terribly anxious, right? So it gets to the stage where I'm walking along and he's like, hi person, hi people, he's waving hi and he's engaging with them. He smiles at them, they light up because there's this cute little kid waving and smiling at them, and then they do the same to me, and that makes me feel good. So what I've realized with these things is that when I make a change myself, the world changes. People act differently. And it's not just for smiling and interacting, but if, and there's a lot of social psychology cues here that sort of demonstrate this, but we are social animals. We pick up on the cues of other people. So if I act a certain way, people act in that way. If I'm walking and I pick up some rubbish, oftentimes other people will go, oh, I should probably do that too. And they start to clean up after themselves. If I put online like, hey, I don't eat sugar, I eat a lot of protein, I eat well, or I exercise daily, or I meditate daily, people are starting to follow me. People are starting to be like, oh, how do I do that? I want to do that too. And I'm not meaning to sound anything sort of mystical here. Like, it's not like, you're putting this energy out and that energy just somehow magically changes the world. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that in personal interactions, people will notice and respond differently to you, both in, interpersonal interactions in terms of characteristics and differences and facial expressions, all that sort of stuff, but also via following your lead. If you do something, people will follow you. And the last thing on this is that it's by being the change that I want to see in the world, I'm feeling less hypocritical, less internally, like there's this weight of not self-hatred or anything like that extreme, but like sort of guilt. Being born in a Western country as a white male is privileged, for lack of a better expression. Look at the data. It's there are significantly harder lives that you could be born into. So I know that I'm privileged with this. So there's this inherent guilt of like, well, am I just sort of living off the past, and I'm just sort of taking advantage of this? So what can I do to assuage that guilt? It's to live the life that I would like to be seeing other people living, or move towards it. Obviously, everyone's human and everyone's hypocritical, and we all make mistakes and we all take back steps and all that sort of stuff. And if you see me in person, there'll be times that I'm just not in a good mood. I get it. There'll be times that I'm not going to be as thoughtful and caring as I'd like to be, and all the other things that I'd like to see more of in the world. However, I'm moving towards that. And I suppose with that in mind, knowing that I'm trying to do it and it's a hard process, I'm also able to start having some compassion back and going, okay, that guy yelling in traffic, he's just a person. He's just a person like me. The parent that's upset at their child, the person that's littering, whatever the problem is, I'm starting to go, well, okay, well, I don't agree with the action, but they're just a person. They've got their own battles. They've got their own cross to bear. I get it. They're working on themselves, or at least I hope they're working on themselves. And I suppose the act of working on yourself is itself something that I would like to see more people doing. If I could get people doing something, it would be, making the change they want to see in the world, and then just working on that self-improvement and self-awareness. Start to work out who you are as a person, what you value, and start pushing for that. So self-awareness in that sense, and then self-improvement. Okay, you know who you are now, or you're working towards figuring out who you are. How can we get there? These are all things that I'm going to be working on throughout the year, and what I'm going to be sort of updating you guys on. So yeah, thank you.